Continue now at the top of Daf Chavtesam and Aleph Meseches Yoma. This is Yoma Daf 29a. The Gemara continues here statements of Rav Nachman. Here Hure Avera, the thoughts of an Avera, Kashu me Avera, are more difficult from the Avera of Simonech, and the symbol of that, Reicha de Bisra, is the smell of the meat. Rashi over here says, Here Hure Avera, Tavas Noshim, Kashim lahachish es besaro yosur migufo shel maisa. The desire for women is more difficult. It weakens the person more than the actual maisa. Reicha de bisra, like the smell of the meat. Hamei riach besar tzili. If somebody smells roasted meat, kashalo reach ma'od shemesavelo. The person has a very strong desire for it, more than the act of the eating the meat itself. And the Gemara continues, again, statements from Rav Nachman. Shilhi dekaita kasha mikaita. The end of the summer is more difficult than the summer. The simonech tanura shagira. And the simon for that refers to an oven that's already been heated up. Rashi says, Shili dekaita elul, shusofa kai, it's elul, which is the end of the summer. Summer, kasha mikait, it's more difficult than the summer itself. Kasha chomo michoma kai shel Tammuz means the heat is more difficult than the heat of Tammuz. Lefisha kvar neschamim kol ha'avir v'guf habrios, because the air has already been heated up. The bodies of people have already been heated up. B'chom hakayetz, with the summer, sha'avar all of tamin mischamim hu ata b'chom kala maziko. So now, since he got so hot from the previous summer, any small amount of heat is going to cause damage. V'simonech tanura shagira tanura shehusak biyom pamayim v'shalosh. Let's say you have an oven that was heated up 2 or 3 times in one day. So chamu, it's already very hot. V'noach lasiko, it's much easier to light it up again. Be'etzim muatim, with just a little bit of wood. Same idea here at the end of the summer in the Elul time. And the Gemara continues. Rav Nachman says, Ishsa desisva. If you have a fever in the time of winter, kashami dekait, it's more difficult than if you have a fever in the summertime. Rashi says, Kadacha shal yemos hachoref mechamamos es achola. If a person has a fever that gets him hot in the winter, so biyadua shu kashamod, you know it must be a very difficult fever. Yoser mi kadachas mevarosu b'yemos hakayitz. It must be more difficult than a fever that heats him up in the summer when it's already hot outside. The simonech, and the symbol for that, tanura krira. Let's say you have a cold oven. Rashi says, tzarech eitzim merubim lasiko. You're going to need a lot of wood to heat up a cold oven. Avzeh shoaver tzonin vaguf tzonin. So to here, the air is cold, the body is cold. Vacholi maviro, and the sickness is making him hot. Biyadua shu choli kasha. You know that he has a very difficult sickness. And the Gemara continues. Migmar ba'atikta kasha michadata. It's more difficult to learn something that you learned before and you forgot than learning something totally new. Rashi says, Misha lamad v'siach daito. A person learned something, then didn't pay attention, v'shachach, and he forgot it. Kasha lachzer v'lilmod. It's more difficult to go back and relearn it. Masha shachach yoser mimasha lo lamad. It's more difficult than something he hasn't learned at all before. The simonech, and the symbol of that is tina bar tina. If you have mortar, the son of mortar, Rashi says, the simonech tina bar tina means tit shagov lemoso mi tit chomer kosel yashin. If you're mixing mortar from the mortar of an old wall, kasha legavlo yoser mi tit shalaf chodesh. That's more difficult than mixing new mortar. And the Gemara continues. Amar Rabbi Avo. Rabbi Avo says, my time of the Rebbe. What's the reason of Rebbe? Rashi says, my time of the Rebbe do Amar Timur shel Chama mefatzeya. Rebbe said that the column of light from the sun, it diffuses, it spreads out in all directions. It comes from the following pasuk, d'chsiv, like the pasuk says, Lam natseach al ayelas hashachar. It's a comparison here between the shachar and the ayelas, which is the female deer. Ma ayola zu karnem afsilos lakan lakan. Just like the deer, the horns go in every direction. Af shachar zem afsil lakan lakan. So too the morning light, it goes in every direction. Rashi says, ayola zu lav dafka naka, not necessarily a female. Sharei ein karnayim l'nekeva, there are no horns for the female. So it's lav dafka means to say, again, just like the horns of the ram, so too the light of the morning light. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rabbi Zeira says, Lama nimshula Esther la ayola. Why is Esther compared to the ayola? Rashi over here says, Lama nimshula Esther ka ayelas, but Meseches Megillah amrinon de Esther amra mizmor zeh. In Meseches Megillah it says that Esther is the one that says this mizmor, Kevan shehigia leveis hatzlamim nistalka himena shchina, because when she got to the area of the idol worship, the Shechina left her. Amra, she said, Eli, Eli, lama zaftani, why have you left me, HaKadosh Baruch Hu? So why is Esther compared to the ayola in this mizmor? Lomar loch, it's to tell you as follows. Ma ayola rach matzar v'chaviva al bala, just like the ayola, the womb is narrow and she's beloved to her mate. Kol shah v'shah kasha rishona, every moment just like the first moment. Af Esther haisa chaviva al Achashverosh, kol shah v'shah kasha rishona, so too Esther was beloved by Achashverosh, every moment just like the first time. Amar Ravasi says, Lama nimshula Esther l'shachar. Why is Esther compared to the morning? Lomar loch, to tell you, Mashachar sof kol alayla, just like the morning is the end of the night. Af Esther sof kol anisim, so too Esther is the end of all miracles. There were no miracles after the time of Esther. So the Gemara says, Voika Chanukah. What about the story of Chanukah? That was a miracle that took place after the time of Esther. So the Gemara says, Nitna lichtov ka'amrinon. We're talking about miracles that were allowed to be written down in the Tanakh. So the Gemara says, Hanichol aman damer Esther nitna lichtov. That's good according to the one who says that Esther was supposed to be written down, part of the Tanakh. El laman damer Esther lo nitna lichtov. But according to the one who says that's not the case, ma'ikol amemer. What are you going to say? And Rashi over here says, Hanichol aman damer plugs of a Meseches Megillah ikol aman damer metame soyadayim. There is one mandamer that says that Sefer Esther is metame yadayim. V'ikol mandamer de'ena metame soyadayim. But there's another one that says that it's not metame. The lav seferi, meaning it's not considered one of the svarim of Tanakh. So again, according to that, what does it mean over here that that Esther is compared to the Shachar, Ma'ikol, Amemer? What are you going to say? And the Gemara answers, Mukim lok Reb Binyamin Bar Yefes Amar Reb Elazar. That sheet is going to say it follows the opinion of Reb Binyamin Bar Yefes in the name of Reb Elazar. The Amar Rabbi Binyamin Bar Yefes Amar Reb Elazar, because Rabbi Binyamin Bar Yefes says in the name of Reb Elazar, Lama nimshalu tefilasan shel tzadikim kayelas. What it means to say is, why are the prayers of the tzaddikim compared to an ayeles? Lomar lach, to tell you, ma'ayola zu kol zman shemegadeles karnem afzilos. Just like the ayola, as long as it grows, the horns continue to spread out. Av tzaddikim, so too when it comes to the tzaddikim, kol zman shemarbin b'tfila, tfilasan ishmas. The more they pray, the more their tefillah is heard. And Rashi over here says, Mukim lo Rabbi Binyamin Bar Yefes kilomar. What that means to say is, Dorish l'hai shachar Rabbi Binyamin Bar Yefes. In other words, you're right. According to the mandamer, that Sefer Esther was not nitna lichasev. Megillas Esther was not meant to be written down. So they're going to darshan this shachar like Rabbi Binyamin Bar Yefes darshans it. Lama nimshal tfilasan shal tzadikim dehai shachar loshen tfilahu. According to this understanding, the word shachar is a language of tefillah. Darish le kamo ruchi bekir bi'ashachrecha lanatzeach ala tefillah shehi kayeles. The tefillah is not like an ayeles. Shekals man shemegadelas karnem afsilos b'chol shana v'shana nosapa pitzel echad. When every single year the horns get a little bit larger, again, so too over here, as long as the tzaddikim daven, their davening is more listened to. And the Gemara continues that the Tudat shachtu es hatamid, they would shech the carbon tamid again when it was light outside. And the Gemara says, Emas, when did all this take place? Now Rashi over explains, Emas ilema kasalka daite horidu kohen gadol lebeis hatvila seva demasnisin. Who right now the Gemara thinks when it says in the Mishnah they brought the kohen gadol to the beis hatvila, that's the end of the Mishnah. Uviyom shato lishchot es hatamid belayla ka'amar horidu kohen gadol lebeis hatvila. In other words, the Gemara thinks that what the Mishnah means is on that particular day there was one day where they had made a mistake and they thought it was daytime when it was really still night, and they shechted the carbon tamid too early, and then it says in the Mishnah, they brought the kohen gadol on that day to the beis hatvila, lishcho tamid acharei hatvila, in order to shech the carbon tamid after the immersion. Emas have a haitos. Well, what day was this that the kohen gadol was doing this, that they made this mistake? So ilema b'shar yemos hashana. If you say it's during other days of the year, meaning not Yom Kippur, so lo sagid the lav kohen gadol, they had to do the avodah with a kohen gadol. You only do the avodah with a kohen gadol on Yom Kippur. What are they involving the kohen gadol on a regular day of the year? Rashi says, inema b'shar yemos hashana the lav yom kippurim. If you say it's on other days of the year, not Yom Kippur, uvisof echad min hachodashim, and it's at the end of one of the months, kishalavonat so machas somuch lalos hashachar, when the moon rises near the area of dawn. So lo sagi delav kohen gadol lo dai avoda shar yamim delav kohen gadol. You have to do the service every day of the year with a kohen gadol. Of course, you can use another kohen. What's the kohen gadol involved if we're not talking on Yom Kippur? Ela b'yom kippurim. So then you're going to say, okay, this story took place on Yom Kippur. They made a mistake in terms of day and night on Yom Kippur. So may or halavana mi'ika. You have an issue of or halavana, of the moonlight on Yom Kippur. That's not the time of the month. Rashi says, Meor halavana mi'ikol etzmoach samach l'shachar. On Yom Kippur, there's a concern that the light of the moon is going to be near the area of dawn, is going to cause confusion. That doesn't happen on Yom Kippur. It's the wrong time of the month. So what's going on in this Mishnah? So the Gemara says, Hachikamer. Here's what the Mishnah means to say. Uviyoma ha'kippurim, on a standard Yom Kippur, when they don't make a mistake, Kiyomar Barak Barkai, when the announcer says that the light is shining, so read the kohen gadol lebeis hatvila. That's the moment when they bring the kohen gadol to the beis hatvila. Rashi over here says, Hachikamer v'yom kippurim kiyomar Barak Barkai v'otziu lebeis hasreifa maskana demilsu. That whole thing where they burned the carbon tamid that was done at the wrong time, that's the end of the sentence. V'orido kohen gadol milsu b'apei nafshehi. And now they bring down the kohen gadol. That's a new thing. That has nothing to do with the carbon tamid that was bad. Umahader la'uruya b'seder avodah. We're now going in and talking about the seder avodah on Yom Kippur, avodah d'Yom Kippur, and v'achikamer. Here's what it means: Kisharoa Omer Barkai. When the person who sees the light says that it's light outside, Hayu Morid and Kohen Gadol b'Yom Kippur and the Beis HaTefillah Shachris. That's when they would bring the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur to the Beis HaTefillah in the morning. In other words, it's just resuming. The mission is resuming, telling you how the avodah on Yom Kippur worked. So again, the Gemara now says, Hachi Kamar, Uviyoma Kippurim, Kiyamar, Barak Barkai, Horido, Kohen Gadol, Beis HaTvila. That's when they would begin the Avoda, Kohen Gadol would go down to the Beis HaTvila. Tani Avua de Rabbi Yavin, it was taught by the father of Rabbi Yavin, Lo Zu Bilvad Amru. This halach is not only in this particular case, Rashi over here says, Lo Zu Bilvad, Lo Zevach Levad, O Shenishchar Balayla Amru Yisarif. It's not only, let's say, by the carbon tamid, if it's shechted at night that you have to burn it. It's not only true by karbanas. El af malika sa'ofu kamitzas mincha b'layla tisarif. It's even true, let's say you have a bird carbon, and you did the malika at night, or you have a carbon mincha, and you did the kometz at night, that also would have to be burned. Don't think it's only by animals. Rashi over here says, El af malika sa'ofu kamitzas mincha b'layla tisarif. The gamrilu mishchita, we learn out malika from shchita. The malika sa'of ukamitzas mincha, the malika of a bird, and also the kamitza of a carbon mincha. You take the fistful of a carbon mincha, b'makam shchitas hazvachim. That's the same as when you shecht an animal. It's the same exact halacha. All of those things, if they happen at night, they have to be burned. So the Gemara says, B'shlama ola sa'of. I understand why you have to burn a carbon ola that's a bird. What happened happened. There's no way to fix it. Rashi says, there's nothing to do to fix the situation. You did it at night, you did it at the wrong time. It has to be burned. Ella comments, but when it comes to the fistful, and we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Tes Amud Beis.